Hi guys, it's ASBYT and welcome back to a brand new video. Now the OnePlus 5T was released about 2 months ago. There are hundreds of unboxings and first impressions and all that lot, and I didn't want to go down that route with this one because I think this is a very important decision that you might want to make with this high-end phone. Now the reason why I'm actually releasing this video today is because actually I believe yesterday or the day before, the OnePlus 5T new variant, the White Sandstone, been reviewed. So I've got the feeling that a lot of you guys are really interested in actually looking at it again if you haven't already, to go and buy the OnePlus 5T either in the new White Sandstone or indeed the matte black like this one here, the original. So there are many things to talk about with this phone, and as you've seen from the title, I'm going to review it, give you the good and the bad, and then I'm going to tell you why potentially I think you might not want to actually buy this phone. Remember to subscribe to the channel and hit that little notification bell if you're new and want to be notified every time I post a new video. So as you can see on my desk here, we have the OnePlus 5. This was the original flagship from OnePlus this year, and then of course they then decided to release this one about 2 or 3 months later. So a lot of you guys ran out and bought the OnePlus 5 as soon as it was released, and then of course you were left wanting when the new release came, and it happens every year. The same as the iPhone where they released the S version, the OnePlus released the T version, and they do minor updates, and I'm going to get through exactly what's changed and why you might not want to actually buy it. So first up, of course, the main difference this year with the OnePlus 5T is the display. There's no getting around it. In my original review of the OnePlus 5, I said that it was a fantastic phone, one of the best I've ever used, especially for the price. It has premium top flagship performance with a moderate price range. So it's not going to be the cheapest, but it is nevertheless going to be still saving some hard-earned cash by getting this over, say, a Samsung or an iPhone. But my one biggest disappointment was the fact that the actual screen looked very 2016, even 2015. It just wasn't quite there. So it had all the performance, but the display left a lot to be wanting, and that's basically the main thing that they have changed. There are a few other fairly important changes they've made as well, but that is definitely the main first one. So this is now a 6-inch 18:9 ratioed phone screen display, and that's of course very in keeping with the current trend. And that is of course a full HD 1080p AMOLED display. So the difference now in terms of the display, in terms of pixels, we've now got, instead of the 1920 by 1080 on the standard OnePlus 5, we're now looking at a 2160 by 1080. Still full HD, but of course we've got a stretched display, which looks much better when you're, viewing the phone normally and using apps, etc. But when you're looking at media, it's still pretty much near enough. Everything is still in 16:9, so you're still going to get the bezels coming in when you're watching videos and movies and stuff like that. It's a very bright display. It's meant to be the same screen as the OnePlus 5, but I've noticed, I don't know whether this picks up on the actual camera, I have noticed that it seems marginally brighter, the OnePlus 5T, than the OnePlus 5, and in low light situations, again, scroll them all the way down to the bottom, it's a tiny bit darker. You can just make out on the left one, the OnePlus 5, the apps and stuff. On the right one, you can't. So in low light situations, in nighttime viewing and stuff, I think the OnePlus 5T is going to be better for your eyes, just because it's a little bit darker and you're not going to be disturbing other people around you. So the range is slightly better on the OnePlus 5T. One thing to note about the screen in terms of the viewing angles, and it's got the same issues really that the OnePlus 5 had, and quite a few AMOLED panels have, and that's of course the rainbow effect. As you turn it, you do get that slight disfigured colouring, so you get the sort of quite a few sort of metallic-y colours knocking about, but who's really going to be sort of looking at the phone like that? Not really anyone. So again, I just thought I'd point it out. And it's not a 4K screen, which some of the other top flagship phones are. Like, I don't know why I sort of couldn't speak that sentence. The top flagship phones at this moment in time, a lot of them are now jumping onto the 4K bandwagon. Me personally, I don't think, looking at this specific example of a great phone with a 1080p screen, I personally don't see the benefit really that much at this moment in time with a 4K screen. You're going to drain your battery more. The actual pixel density is enough for me for a phone. We're not talking TVs, which of course you can tell the difference obviously, but in terms of smartphones, for me, yeah, I'm happy with 1080 at this moment in time. Especially AMOLED, 1080p AMOLED for me is more than enough. And now that it does have that 6-inch screen, it does look gorgeous, I'm not going to lie. Compared to the OnePlus 5, there is no comparison in terms of what you're getting with that phone. I mean, it just looks much better. So we've gone with the 5.5 onto the 6, but it's exactly pretty much the same form factor. It is a real tiny bit taller, just as you can see there. It just overlaps slightly, but outside of that, it is basically identical in terms of the form factor from the back, other than, of course, another point, which is, of course, the fingerprint sensor. Now that we don't have any real bezels, just tiny ones top and bottom, of course, the fingerprint sensor on the OnePlus 5 is located, as you can see, at the bottom. On this, obviously, there's no room, so what they've done, they've flip reversed it onto the back, as I'm sure you well know already. It's a great fingerprint sensor, just like the OnePlus 5. It's one of the fastest, most accurate fingerprint sensors I've ever used. It's pretty much nigh on perfect, to be honest, in terms of as far as fingerprint sensors go. I will just quickly show you. So we've got nothing there, and it's on already. Like, before I'd even turn the phone around, it's on. It's on again. It's on again. Like, it's ridiculous. Okay, so the fingerprint sensor is the same pretty much in terms of speed as the OnePlus 5, but of course it's a different location. It's on the back. Some of you may prefer it. Some of you may prefer having it on the front. To me, it's neither one nor the other. They're both equally as easy to use. The OnePlus 5T has a benefit over the OnePlus 5 original, and that is, of course, now you can use Face Unlock on this, like you can on the iPhone X or 10, as some people get really annoyed about people calling it the X. You can do the same on the OnePlus 5. And I've actually found using the Face Unlock on the OnePlus 5T actually sometimes easier than the fingerprint sensor. I didn't think I would, and I was horrified at the iPhone for just doing Face Unlock, but actually, to be honest, I quite like using it. And the reason why is because, again, on the market at the moment, one of the fastest, if not the fastest Face Unlock, faster than the iPhone, believe it or not. So basically what you do is you just press your home button, and then you'd simply just look at it, and it would... So we're just going to test it here, and it's already unlocked. So you don't even have to swipe or anything. You just, if you're facing it straight away and you just press the on, it comes on like it's so quick. And just to show you, I've not just set it to no Face Unlock. If I press the home, like, look, it's not come on, and then you have to put in a pattern, and then as soon as I turn it, it's unlocked again. So it works absolutely amazingly. So again, I'll just do it here. So looking away from the camera, you can't see, and you have to do the pattern. Then as soon as I turn it, it comes on. So it's really, really good technology, this. How safe and secure it is compared to the iPhone or compared to some of the other technologies, I don't know at this stage. But even though I've said that the OnePlus 5T is better than the OnePlus 5 for that face detection, we are now hearing that the OnePlus 5 is going to receive a software update to allow it to use Face Unlock as well. So again, is there much of a jump up? We're going to continue. So build quality on both is excellent. It's made of, obviously, glass and metal on the back. It does feel very premium in the hand. It feels much lighter than a lot of phones of a similar size as well, which is really, really good the way they've done it. And of course, it has the curve back, nice and easy to handle. Very comfortable in the hand. You're not going to have any problems if you're using it for long periods. And of course, a very good thing that they've not got rid of in the OnePlus 5T, like with the OnePlus 5 as well. We've got our headphone jack, ladies and gents, so it's still there, like it was on the OnePlus 5, so we're not having any problems with getting rid of that, which some people thought they might do. No, it's still there. Battery, pretty much the same, again, as the OnePlus 5. It's the same, 3,300 milliamps, and it's a really, really solid battery performance. In fact, for a 3,300, for me, I'm getting almost as good as some of the phones that are up towards the 4,000. It certainly performs far greater than the Samsung flagships of this year, in my personal opinion. When I've done tests, it works absolutely brilliantly. Most of the other inner workings are pretty much the same on these two phones. You know, talking sound quality is okay. It's not the best, it's certainly not the worst. It is up there, you know, it's the 60-70% mark, as opposed to, you know, the budget phones, which you can tell the difference when you turn the sound up really loud. It is quite poor. This, no crackling or anything like that. It just has, you know, not enough bass for me and things like that. In terms of the sound compared to the OnePlus 5, I have noticed as well, which is a slight improvement, when you are listening to it at really low volumes, you can scroll right down a lot lower than the OnePlus 5. So if you've got the 1 bar sound on the OnePlus 5, it's still pretty loud. So if you're trying to be discreet or you're trying to watch stuff in public, you don't really want people listening to what you're watching or whatever, then of course you're much better on the OnePlus 5T, because like I said, you can go a lot. It's that range again. The same with the screen, highs to lows. The sound as well for me is slightly stretched in terms of that range. So again, it's a slight positive over the OnePlus 5. Now we're on to the one main change outside of the display, and that is, of course, the camera. Now, the camera, for me, looks worse for a start. In terms of the actual design, it does protrude a lot more than on the OnePlus 5. I'm not sure whether, again, you can see on the screen here, there is a definite hump on the OnePlus 5T than there was on the OnePlus 5, and that's a bit of a shame because, again, if you're improving a product, aesthetically try and make it better. You're changing the front and making it better, the back's slightly worse. But it's very minor. I'm not going to lie, it's very minor. But that's, of course, not the main change in terms of that rear camera. The change is actually in the second camera. So with the OnePlus 5, originally we had a 60 megapixel main camera and we had a f1.7 aperture, and we also had the second lens, which was a telephoto lens, so therefore good for zooming and stuff like that, and that was a 20 megapixel at f2.6, so wasn't the best for low light. But of course you could use that zoom, and it was great for portrait shots using the hardware of the phone, which is something they've changed for the 5T. The 5T now, for the portrait mode, doesn't use the dual camera. It uses software like the Pixel does, using that main camera. The secondary camera in this one, it's not a fake, before people say that, because that is awash in the news with dual camera fakes. OnePlus would not dream of doing that. They would lose all credibility. But of course, the secondary camera in this one is now designed for low light situations, which has had a mixed bag so far, but I will explain exactly what it does. So now we've got a 20 megapixel still, but it's an f1.7. So basically it's very similar to the main one, but it's got more megapixels. Now, for you guys who know about low light situations with cameras, usually using more megapixels would actually be a downgrade in terms of low light performance. However, what OnePlus have said they've done is they've used software to group together 4 pixels at once in order to create larger pixels. It's a little bit confusing, but nevertheless, that's what they've said they've done in order to improve that low light performance. And like I said, it has received a very mixed review so far. Many people saying that it's actually not helped at all. However, there has been an update. There's been an update in the last week or so, and now the low light performance, I've noticed quite a shift, not a massive shift, but there's definitely a shift in low light performance. It definitely now handles low light situations better than the OnePlus 5 after that software update. Before the software update, yeah. Now, the sensor for the original OnePlus 5 was the Sony IMX398, and that was on the main rear camera. On the telephoto camera, the sensor was the 350 IMX. Front camera sensor was the IMX371, and the only difference in terms of sensors on the OnePlus 5T is on the secondary rear camera, which uses the IMX376K. Video recording and everything seems to be exactly the same in terms of performance. Can have 4K, but at 60 frames a second, there is a maximum of 1080p. The front camera on the 5T also uses the IMX371 sensor, 60 megapixels at f2.0. The video on the front is also 1080p at 30 frames a second maximum, like it was on the original OnePlus 5. And again, on the OnePlus 5T, we have a near stock Android experience. It is using Oxygen OS, but the latest version of Oxygen OS is as close to stock as you could possibly want, with a few changes, a few updates here and there, a few little tweaks to make it their own. But it's a very, very nice user experience. This one is the 6GB of RAM and 64GB of storage one, and the benchmark came in at 170,621, which is huge. The OnePlus 5 here that I've got actually came in marginally better as well, at 180, but this variant was the 8GB version at 128GB of storage, so you are getting that slight bump up, but it's pretty much near enough the same in terms of performance, and that's on the Antutu benchmark tests. I did the Geekbench 4 test on the OnePlus 5T as well, and as you can see, that is a phenomenal score. There's not really much more I can say about that. A really, really solid performance from the OnePlus 5T. So here's the thing. Here is what this video is all about. I've said to you why you shouldn't buy the OnePlus 5T, and straight from the start I've made it adamant that this phone is a fantastic phone. It's one of the best phones on the market at this moment in time. It's right up there in performance with the Samsung Note 8, S8. It's right up there with the latest LG phones. It's near enough in terms of raw performance, again the same as the Pixel. So the reason why I'm saying to you why you shouldn't buy this phone is it's very, very simple. You should not buy this phone if you have the OnePlus 5, because the OnePlus 5 in my opinion, does almost everything what the OnePlus 5T does. If you're desperate for that display, then feel free to jump up. But if you've spent, you know, $500 or whatever, or £400 on the OnePlus 5, you're not going to want to go and buy and spend that money on this individual phone, because there isn't as much of a difference as I would want to shell out another load of money for this phone. In my opinion, I would wait for the OnePlus 6, or obviously another phone that's not OnePlus. The camera is slightly changing and marginally better in low light, but there's not a great deal of difference in my personal opinion. Battery life is the same, headphone slots the same, fingerprint use the same. The face unlock, which was one of the main features of the new OnePlus 5T, is coming to the OnePlus 5 anyway. So all in all, like I said, I just don't feel there is enough change on the OnePlus 5T to shell out more money if you've already bought the OnePlus 5. If you don't have the OnePlus 5, if you don't want to spend £900, £1,000 on a smartphone like Samsung and Apple, then this is right in there as probably one of the best on the market at this moment in time. Period. In terms of raw specs, it comes up pretty much the same as those phones like I mentioned. So let me know what you think in the comment section below about the OnePlus 5T. Do you think there's enough about this phone to warrant shelling out another $400, $500, $600 on the OnePlus 5T over the OnePlus 5? Or do you think that there's not enough change and you're going to wait for the OnePlus 6 or another phone in general? Are they both too out of your price range? Because remember, OnePlus came into the market right at the top end in terms of performance, but at a cheaper price than the rest, so we don't want to see them go up any more really in the future. If they do, then they start jumping into that top bracket. There's a lot of big hitters out there, then it could become a bit of a problem for them, like what happened with the Essential phone this year. Great specs, great phone build, broken microphone, too expensive. They dropped the price. They're now starting to see a bit of fruit for their labour. Is that a... I don't even know whether that's a thing, to be honest. But yeah, that's where we're going with that. If you are one of these people that thinks that both of these phones are still too expensive, I've got you covered, because I've got my top 5 budget smartphones for you to possibly get your hands on in the year of 2018, and that review is coming very, very soon. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel and you've turned on the little notification bell if you are interested in finding out a lot more about smartphones and tech in general. I've got loads of different reviews coming. We're talking headphones, I'm reviewing these soon. We've got more Android boxes, we've got more tutorials on software, media streaming, etc, etc. We've got it all here, and I'm excited for this year of 2018 to show it all, to show it all with you, to share it all with you. And that's pretty much it for today. Like I said, like and share if you did enjoy this video. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel if you're new, and I will see you in the next one. So ASBYT, peace out.